Yeah, so you're the first using these cameras with this controller board and pretty much like all of this stuff. It's all you, man.
It's going to prove scientifically that I have a face made for radio.
For
audio only, yeah.
A face for radio. Isn't that what Jameson said about one time?
I don't know. But, whenever I hear someone's voice and just hear the audio, I don't know about you, but I have this mental image of what they must look like.
Well, yeah.
And I don't know how many times, I mean, I have like a 2% accuracy rate. Like, they never look like I envision them.
Yeah, it's like all those DJs, know, like on the old radio shows back in the day.
The most recent one, I just had to look them up the other day because, and I learned this, right? Because we were listening to XM New Wave, because that's kind of like my wife's favorite genres, like the 80s New Wave type of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so the guys
totally
on there, the guys on there who was when we were growing up in LA, he was on K-Rock, his name's, and he goes by Swedish Eagle. Right? He's got a Swedish accent. And I always thought it was eagle, like, bald eagle, American eagle, but it's actually EGIL, which is a Swedish name. And so I always had this picture of like how he looked. Right. And so I had this picture of how he looked like, and I was picturing a stereotypical Swedish person, forgetting the age factor at all. And he didn't, when I looked him up to learn more about him, I was like, this guy doesn't look anything like I pictured based on his voice alone. So I've only heard his voice over the years, never bothered to look him up.
Yeah. Well, like you had those old dudes that were all like, this is Mad Dog Ron in the morning at 8 a.m. Welcome to KPRP WXZ.
Right. My favorite was WKRP in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
Les Nessman.
WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yeah, you remember that show?
Yeah, there was an episode of that they played. I want to say it was in like social studies class or something from when my brother was in high school. I didn't even know about that show until that. And the episode was, I think it was one of the last ones, but supposedly it had some huge impact on people because the topic that it touched on, it was either racism or homosexuality or something like that. And it's one of the first TV episodes to ever really like hit on that. I'm gonna have to look at it at some point because I can't remember what it was. I just remember my brother coming home and talking about it with my mom, and my mom knew that show because she used to watch it. She was like, what are you talking about? What episode was that? And yeah, this was before like YouTube and stuff, so we couldn't really like look it up, but
right,
it's something that thinking of now, man, I should probably check that out. Because it was a great show. I've seen it a few times.
Yeah, Howard Hessman.
Yeah.
He was great. He had this cameo. When I think of him, I think about his cameo in Spinal Tap. And he was playing the manager of this more popular band than Spinal Tap. And the managers bump into each other like at a hotel. Yeah. And Howard Hessman's line is like, "Oh, I'd really love to talk to you, but I gotta sit in the lobby and wait for the limo." It's like subtle dialogue in that movie. Just thinking about it makes me crack up.
I just watched Spinal Tap. Like I've had it for a long time, but I've never watched it.
What? Until
just recently.
Really?
Yeah, like a few months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy movie. Like, who's the guy? I mean, there's like, 4 guys in it?
Yeah.
The guy who's the asshole radio station manager from Airheads, he's one of the guys in that.
Asshole radio station manager from Airheads.
Yeah.
That's so he's managing a radio station in Spinal Tap?
No, he's managing the radio station in Airheads.
You know what? I don't even think I ever saw Airheads.
You never saw Airheads?
I don't think so. That was like Dan Aykroyd, right?
No. Steve Buscemi, Adam Sandler, and Brendan Fraser.
And none of those guys, I think, were in Spinal Tap.
No, they weren't. But the guy who manages the radio station that they took over.
Okay.
He was in Spinal Tap.
You have to go to like IMDb and see like the cast of characters or something.
Well, here's a trailer. They'll probably show him in the trailer.
Oh,
I can't take that tape from you. If it's unsolicited, I can't touch it.
Oh yeah, it's got Judd Nelson in it
It's
too.
not easy to break into the music business, but these three guys
What's your secret code?
I can't tell you my code.
just found a way.
You guys are a unsigned band, and you broke into the radio station to get your demo played on the air?
I just feel a little goofy with a water pistol.
They don't know it's a water pistol. They think it's real.
Oops! Look, all I want to do is be heard, and then we're out of here.
You've seriously never seen
Who are
Airheads?
you guys?
My name's Pip.
This movie's awesome.
The band name. Sorry about that.
Oh man, look, the demo's wasted!
Well, what are we gonna do now?
It's funny because Adam Sandler plays like a total moron.
I'm surrounded. I don't want to go to jail. I'm fragile.
Everybody on the floor right now.
Do you mind if I sit in a chair?
Hold on, they'll show him in a minute. They have to. He's a huge part of it.
If
Him.
he doesn't sit on the
oh
floor,
yeah, Michael McKean.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's the lead singer in Spinal Tap.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Well, he's
that's his name, Michael McKean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in a lot of.
it's the inbreak.
Well, not just Rob Reiner, but so he was in Best in Show. You know, well, did you ever? You're probably not old enough, but a spin-off of Happy Days. Did you ever hear about Happy Days? The Happy Days sitcom.
Yeah.
With Ron Howard.
Yeah,
and
Ron
Henry
Howard and all
Winkler,
them,
right?
yeah.
So a spin-off of was Lenny and Squiggy, right? So Lenny and Squiggy were two characters. He was Lenny.
Okay.
He was Lenny in Happy Days.
I've heard of Lenny and
so that was the
Squiggy,
first
and
time
I just don't remember him from
So I
that
think
show.
they did a spin-off of Laverne and Shirley. Like Laverne and Shirley was a spin-off of Happy Days, and
Okay.
two characters in Laverne and Shirley that were big were Lenny and Squiggy, and Lenny is played by Michael McKean. And so the most recent great performance that I saw by him was in, if you've ever seen the series Better Call Saul.
Yes.
Yeah, so he was Saul's brother. Right, he was his older brother.
Oh, that's right. He was his older brher.
Right, so
Yeah.
he did a really great job in that.
And he's so old in
series.
that too.
Yeah, there's.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
there he is, right? So he's been playing the guitar for a while. Yeah. Okay.
Does Michael McKean actually play guitar?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, I think all the Spinal Tap songs are like legit. You know, the bass player is Harry Shearer, which does 100 voices on The Simpsons.
No, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Relax and dance to the rhythm of music.
I think the actor who played Squiggy died not long ago. And of course,
Lenny and Squigton.
Cindy Williams, who played Shirley, died I think last year, and
From Laverne and Shirley.
yeah, and Penny Marshall died a while ago. She was actually a director.
Yeah.
She directed some movies that were pretty decent.
Yeah, I know Penny Marshall died. So her and Gary Marshall, were they married or were they
I thought
brother and sister?
I thought Gary was her father. I thought, but I'm not sure.
I thought he was like her brother, or I cannot remember.
I guess it could be.
Well, fuck, we have like
I know.
a world
You
of
could-
information
you
at
could
our
look it
fingertips,
up.
right?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I could use my phone too if you wanted me to. But you got the high speed right there. I don't think I'm hooked up to your Wi-Fi either.
Gary Marshall.
Yeah, go to IMDb or something like that. I don't know. Oh, maybe.
I'm sure he's got like a. Yeah, see, Wikipedia. So early life and family. So yeah, was he married to Penny Marshall or related to her? I'm sure it'd be under spouses. What does that say, Sandra Wells?
Yeah. Here we
Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, there it is. Relatives, Penny Marshall, sister.
Sister. Okay.
Yeah, so that's how they were related. Yeah, I could never figure that out. I didn't know if they were family or if they were married.
That's weird. I always thought he was significantly older than her and was her dad, but all right, they are related.
Yeah, well, I
Related by
remember.
blood.
I don't really remember much of anything that they were in, because it's before my time.
Right.
But the one thing that I remember them most for was Hocus Pocus.
Hocus Pocus.
Yeah. Because they were in that together at one point when the Sanderson sisters are going down the street after they lost their brooms. And
Okay. No, okay.
he's dressed up as the devil and comes out on the front porch and
I'm having a hard time remembering it because when you say Hocus Pocus, I'm thinking about a Kurt Vonnegut book.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's like my brain is going in a totally different direction.
No, they were...
Yeah, this...
So it was Gary Marshall, and he was dressed up as the devil, and then his wife, inside the house, who didn't give a flying shit about Halloween, that was Penny Marshall.
So Halloween, the original movie, was actually filmed in the hometown where I grew up. So if you could...
The Halloween movies?
Yeah, with Jamie Lee Curtis. The first one, for sure. So when I watch that movie, I just see like where I grew up, and of course the high school has been totally renovated since then. But so that's movies even like borderline before my time.
Jeez. Yeah. Well,
yes, Hocus
Halloween. That was 70s.
Yeah,
late 70s, wasn't it?
Yeah, Michael Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis, and they preserved that house. So they moved it from where its original location was, and they preserved it. Now, if you ever go to like South Pasadena, you can see the house kind of like on the corner near like the Gold Line, and it's almost like historical because of that movie. It's so funny.
It makes sense though why they would keep it. I mean, yeah, it is kind of historical. That movie was pretty awesome to a lot of people. It's one of, I mean, it's really one of the greatest slasher films ever made.
Well, that's weird that you say that, because I was thinking it's not really gory as much as it is just psychologically suspenseful, and I mean, it's not really a lot of blood. Yeah, so it wasn't not like Friday the 13th, right?
Yeah, that's true. Friday the 13th definitely had a lot more like blood and gore, and Halloween was more just, oh, he's behind that wall. I
remember seeing Friday the 13th, number 3, and that was like 3D. And that was like a big deal, right? You're wearing the glasses, you're in the movie theater. I'm next to my friend, and I guess it's because I'm left-handed or whatever. I reacted the opposite direction that he did when this character shot an arrow, and it really looked like an arrow. So my reflex was like, and so he like bumped heads together, because I went one way, he went the next. I'm like, ow. That arrow looks so real. I mean,
you guys have like the cardboard glasses on and all that, the red side and the blue side.
Yeah, that's right. That's what they had.
They don't even do that anymore. They just have they're like regular sunglasses.
Now they got like a VR machine, right? We don't even need any of that stuff.
Yeah,
people are like putting this VR. We went from my mom yelling at me, "Don't sit so close to the TV." It's like having the TV like as close to my eyeballs as possible now.
I know, right? Yeah, they always used to say, you sit too close to the TV, then it's going to burn your eyeballs out and all that, which, I mean, actually was true back in the day when it was all cathode ray tubes. It really was not good for you. Not that it is anymore, but LEDs and all that stuff, there's not as much radiation as there used to be, which was, I think, the big deal about it. But it's still not good for you. It's not good for you to just sit in front of screens anyway. But
and yet that's what we do. Yeah, I was seeing stuff about the AirPods, especially the earbuds for Apple, and how much radiation they give off, like more than just like answering your phone. You know, the EMFs at least. And then and then this guy sat in with like one of those detectors, and he sat in a Tesla. And it was just like going off the whole time. So it's like sitting in like a big cell phone, you know?
Yeah, I remember, I mean, this was early 2000s, mid 2000s or something like that. And when we still had like the sliders and the brick phones and the clamshells and stuff, we didn't even have smartphones yet.
Yeah.
And everybody was losing their shit over how cell phones were all going to give us brain tumors and stuff.
Right.
Like there's reports on the news about don't hold it too close to your head and all that, because you'll just end up giving yourself brain cancer, and like that actually used to freak me out when I was younger.
And people are still like, I'll take the risk, right? I was just listening to something over on the way over, and it's like, is it that people don't know the information, like the information's being suppressed, or they actually do have access to the information, they know some of it, and they just don't care. You know, it's like, I know it's going to give me brain cancer, but, you know, it's more important that I take this call. You know, and besides, and they'll rationalize, I'm not using it that much, you know, so it probably won't give me, I won't be the one, right? It's never going to happen to me. I mean, people always think that, right?
Right.
When you read on the news, it's never going to happen to me. Right.
Well, yeah, that's what everybody thinks about everything. It's never
Right.
going to happen to me.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's not going to be me. That's that person. That's only people who that's only people who eat macaroni and cheese. That's not me.
Right. So I mean, I think that's part of it. It's like, okay, even if that was true, it's like they're going to I'll be one of the many that doesn't get brain cancer. So I don't have to worry about that. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that the information's out there. People are just too caught up in their own worlds to either pursue it, and then if they find it, it's like it doesn't really change what they do. It doesn't change their behavior, you know. So what will it take for your behavior to change, you know?
A lot.
I think the threshold's pretty high, right?
Yeah, I think that's the thing though, is you're right. Everybody thinks, well, it's not going to be me. Because we don't want to believe that we're susceptible, or, you know what I mean? Like, we don't want to believe that could happen to me.
Right.
When the reality is, none of us are bulletproof.
Yeah.
You know, it could just as soon be me versus any other person that it could be. So why couldn't it be me? Why wouldn't it be me? And
then the opposite is also true. So they also hold in their thoughts, many of us, right, myself included, is like, well, that bad thing is never going to happen to me, right? That's happened to someone else. But this great thing, like becoming, I don't know, famous author or singer or whatever, artist, that could be me. You see someone that's like famous, and you'd be like, oh, why can't that be me? So you can have this 1 in a million shot, a positive thing, but the other thing, like maybe 1 in 100,000, like, oh, that's never going to happen to me, right? So it's really weird how the human mind works.
Yeah, that is weird how we want the absolute best for ourselves all the time, so we constantly imagine that could be me. I could have that. Well, I mean, there's people who don't. There's people who are like, just get jealous, you know. Well, I could never do that. They might not say it, but
those are all the haters. Those are the haters, right?
Yeah, haters.
That's the online trolls or haters, whatever you want to call them. They're just trying to bring other people down.
Yeah,
you know.
But I mean, other than that, yeah, people are like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could do that. But then we still block out everything else. Like, oh, that could happen to me. I better be careful. You know, we don't see that, yes, any one of us at any time could step off a curb and get hit by a bus, or end up getting brain cancer or whatever else. And like doom and gloom. I mean, I hate to be the one that's, well, we're all just going to die, so who gives a fuck, you know? But I mean, the short and skinny is, yeah, we're all going to die at some point. And yes, you should always take care of yourself so that hopefully you have as long as possible, right? But then you look at people who, like vegans, who eat clean and healthy all the time. They don't smoke, they don't drink, you know, whatever, and they still end up getting cancer at 40.
Yeah, so you have
so weird.
Well, you have to talk. I mean, you're reminding me of the question always comes up. It's like quantity of life or quality of life, right? Sometimes you have a battle between those two. So there's people that are they might do what it takes to have like a quantity of life, but if they're depriving themselves so much, or if they're not living a quality of life, if they're so agoraphobic or so scared to go out there in their safe environment and eating organic or whatever, they're completely safe and healthy in terms of physically, but mentally they have no human contact, right?
Yeah.
You can put someone in solitary confinement, they could probably live for a long time physically, but what's their quality of life?
Yeah.
Quality of life is right. So that's why I don't blame, I mean, I'm not an adrenaline junkie, but I don't blame these adrenaline junkies. They're going out on their own terms, man. They're getting the thrill out of life. They're getting what they see is to be like the greatest quality of life that they can, which is like just getting a total rush from whatever they do. And they're excited, and they consider life as just an adventure. Excited. They know they're going to die. So it's like, hey, I'm going to die. So I might as well die like doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
Right? And I might as well die on my own terms. You're not committing suicide, not willfully dying, but it's like, I've always wanted to ski down, you know, this incredibly tough hill with like, it's not groomed, and we'll see how it goes. I always wanted to climb Mount Everest, you know, the bodies that are just, you know, I mean, that's not my thing, but you can make the argument. It's like, okay, why am I living? Right? right? Why am I still alive? You wake up every day, it's like, okay, why am I alive today? What am I supposed to do today? You know, I mean, some people ask it, some people don't. Or some people stay so superficial. It's like, well, I'm alive today because I have a water bill due or past due. So I have to go somewhere to be compensated for my labor so that I can pay this water bill, right? And then you get caught up in this real superficial, materialistic machine. And then you become like Thoreau. It's like, you know, most men lead lives of quiet desperation. Just quietly, like, by yourself, just desperate, not even knowing, like, your purpose and why you're here. And it's kind of, that's when it can get, like, depressing, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's like what we talk about with a lot of the fellas that we know is, you know, find your why. Yeah. Because I think what you're talking about, then, you know, that plays into that whole just living to survive, you know.
And so you're just not, what's the saying from Shawshank Redemption?
Which isn't actually living. I mean, it's lame.
Living or get busy dying, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, what are you doing? Are you just staving off death for another day, or are you actually, like, living for some reason, like in any given day, right?
Yeah.
So it's like today, it's like, okay, I get human contact with Dave. I haven't seen him for a while. We haven't had, like, coffees in a while. And, you know, I can only make this meeting, like, every other week. So it's like, okay, I get human contact. We have, like, a real conversation. You know, we've known each other long enough now. It's like, okay, we can skip all the small talk. Yeah. Get right into it. Right. So, I mean, that is a quality of life that so many people don't have. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, 'cause I got a mother-in-law. She's in a home. She's now, like, in memory care. She's going to get quantity of life. You could argue that she's got more quantity of life than maybe is, you know, suits her. I mean, I know it's horrible to say. Maybe I shouldn't. But what's her quality of life? Her quality of life is horrible, right?
Right.
I mean, even though she has hearing aids, she really can't even communicate and have a conversation with the people that are living at the same place. And even when her daughter and me go to visit her, it's very limited interaction, you know. So it's just, to me, that's just, like, sad. So it's like, and she could live for who knows. I mean, if her heart's still beating, her kidneys are working, she could live for another decade, just like that.
Right, but see, that's, to me, that's not living at all. Right. And, like, one of the things that probably scares me absolutely the most is dementia, like Alzheimer's,
absolutely,
like that.
Reasonable. Yep.
And that, I mean, I've always thought about that, like, my entire life, how awful that looks and sounds. Mm-hmm. And then just recently, within the last, I don't know, couple of years, I saw it was all about dementia patient care and the health system and all that stuff in Canada. Like, it was like a documentary kind of deal, and that's what it was based around. But they showed a lot of dementia patients and what they're going through and what their families are going through, like trying to figure out how to take care of them and all this stuff up there in Canada. And just watching this, I was like, that looks fucking awful. Because most of these people are basically just sitting there in a chair in the hallway half the time. They have no idea who they are or where they're at or nothing. They're just a body sitting there breathing. They're literally a shell of their former self. And I look at that and I'm like, that's fucking awful. You're just trapped inside yourself and have no idea who you are or what's going on around you or who your friends and family are. And I'm like, fuck that.
So here's something.
Kill me, please.
So here's something that's a little bit of optimistic when it comes to that.
I think it's personally kind of selfish, in my opinion, for people to want to just keep you alive, to have you around for what? Because you're not living.
Well, okay, now you're getting me off on a whole nother, like, tangent here. But what I was going to say, so I have to hold on to that thought a little bit.
Sorry.
No, that's all right. But to answer that,
I bunged up your thought process there.
But I'll answer that as brief as possible, and that is, well, if you are avowed and you believe in pro-life like from cradle to grave, then you won't believe in euthanasia and then exterminating this person just because they don't have a memory. So let me just set that aside. But one thing I was going to say that was optimistic. There's a documentary, I can't remember it. I want to say like it's Music in Me or Music Inside Me or something like that. And this is a fascinating documentary. In fact, I donated to the cause where you can. It's at least at the time it was like these little iPod shuffles. You would see people that exactly as you described, like all on their own, not knowing where they are, whatever, and they put headphones on them like this, and they would know because the kids would know, oh, what did Dad used to listen to when he was like younger, and they have this playlist of songs, right? They play the music, and then they take off the headphones, and that person who's demented, who's like exactly as you described, is now having a short conversation. And you're just like, wow, like you can't believe it.
Almost like you've kind of tapped into a memory
because
for just a brief moment or something.
Because music and apparently the memory is located in the same areas of the temporal lobes. I think that's what was in the film. They're kind of making that argument. So being able to access the music by hearing it can access some memories at least long enough to have at least a brief conversation. So like they come alive again after hearing music. And so I know you being a musician, you like to hear that. So it's not like it's completely hopeless. And there's also been cases of early dementia where if they are consuming a lot of silica, because silica apparently, and there's silica in like Fiji water, there's silica in actually ep48 beers, so you like to know that.
Yeah,
and
that probably is a good thing for me to know.
The silica helps take out some of whatever the toxins are, things that are built up that help contribute to dementia, and so they've had some positive results with just switching someone over to Fiji water or a water that has some silica in it, and they've been able to reverse some, cognitive defects that haven't been so severe. Now, of course, what you were implying were people that were advanced stage, and I don't know if they've done studies on that. The other thing I'll say is,
I know they've made some advancements in figuring out what causes it.
Yes,
and like where basically the ground zeros are, the centers for kind of what start you down the path of dementia, and like I know they're working on trying to figure out how to like reverse it, or if not, at least stop it where it's at,
or promote it. Because not to dovetail into my favorite subject of all time is because there's an interview I heard. This German scientist, doctors showed the numbers that since 2018, the incidence of dementia in Germany has gone up by 30%. So what's happened since 2018? We all know, right?
Well, yeah.
So, I mean, if they got you so whacked out. The other thing is, that I was going to say is I've had this personal experience with it, and there's been plenty of studies and books written on this subject, although most people don't know about it, and that is statin drugs. So statin drugs, by taking the cholesterol down, it helps impact the myelin development in the brain, and it definitely is associated with cognitive defects. So I was on statin drug for a very short period of time because my cholesterol was high.
Is that what statins do?
Yes,
for bringing down cholesterol.
Right, because and then that's a whole another thing that can obviously go down the path of like how much we've been lied to about everything, right? So the Great Cholesterol Con. There's a documentary, Statin Nation.
Yeah, it is
the whole thing is a total.
It is a con.
It's just another way for like big pharma to like sell you something, and once you get on statins, it's like you're going to have so many other deleterious effects that you're going to need other medications, and so that's the whole setup, right?
Yeah, I can't remember who it was I was talking to recently that conversation came up, and they were like, if your doctor is, if the first thing that they're trying to do at the sign of high cholesterol is to put you on statins, find a new doctor.
Right, absolutely. But that is the way that the system has been set up, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to get too far back into it, but there was this report called the Flexner Report, and so this is back in the early 1900s, and the medical schools were kind of suffering, and so they had the Rockefeller came in essentially and took it over, right? So, because a lot of the things were like, there was laws being, this is such an oversimplified version of this, right?
Yeah,
people can be like, this guy's
like, more your wheelhouse than it is mine,
I can't like cite anything offhand, but the essentially Rockefeller's making so much money with all this petroleum and all this stuff. But then they said, like, he's making too much money, so the government tries to, like, quash a little bit. So it's like, okay, what do I do with all this petroleum products? Well, how about we make some drugs? So it's like, well, how are we going to sell these drugs? Well, we need people to sell them. So let's get people, these struggling medical schools, to put some of us on their board, right? So they have this report called the Flexner Report that reports about all these medical schools. They implant all these people onto different medical school boards. That's great. They get to pick and choose who are eventually going to be their pharmaceutical pimps, which we call doctors, right?
Yeah.
So, like, you go through all these
which is essentially what they are. Because, I mean, that's all they do anymore. It's like, oh, you have a kink in your knee? Here, take this pill. Oh, you have some spots in your eyes? Take this pill.
So what do we talk about in men's group? We talk about, like, how are you sleeping? How much sleep are you getting? What's your nutrition? What's your exercise, right? How much do you get exposed to nature? What are your relationships like? All this stuff before we even talk about, like, any medication at all.
Right.
Right? So
yeah, and that's true. Nobody ever brings up, like, oh, what meds are you on? Oh, maybe you should try this. Like, nobody talks about that.
Never, right? It's like, I mean, maybe like testosterone, but I mean, other than that, it's
but I mean, that's really the only one that you need.
I mean,
it can be done. It can. I mean, as long as you're taking care of yourself, you can get it naturally, you know. But some of us in this day and age need a little bit of help.
I mean, how did civilization survive up until, like, the development of the pharmaceutical industry? I mean, really? I mean, what the average
on its own, without all the bullshit in our food and water and everything else that's killing testosterone.
And there you go. You said food and water. So there's a link, obviously, between those two, right? So you go to the store and you get, quote, food, right? 80% of the stuff that you go and see down those aisles in other countries wouldn't even be considered food, right? Yeah. And so, like, you get your poisons through a bag or a box, you get side effects, and then you go to the doctor and they say, oh, here, have some more side effects. Here's a prescription, right?
Yeah.
So it's all tied in together. I mean,
I find it funny how much food that we manufacture here, right? That almost every other country rejects. That they won't take it.
It's poison.
Yeah, they're like, absolutely not. It's full of bullshit. We don't want it.
Right.
And yet we gobble it up all day, every day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy how much of it everybody else is like, absolutely not.
Yeah, and we're so self-centered collectively, like as the United States, that we're just like, oh, well, we're the leaders of the world and, you know, whatever. Yeah. Like, so if we're going to say it's food, you know? It's the good news is that I was just hearing someone call it the COVID scam, right, of 2020, 2021. That whole thing is probably woken up more people, right? Because now they're like, okay, this was a lie. And so the trust in the medical industrial complex has probably gone way down. So this opens up an avenue for people that are alternative, right? People are going to talk to you about what kind of water you're drinking, how much sleep you're getting, you know, sleep hygiene, all these topics that a doctor's not going to talk to you about. Yeah. The doctors, you just sit in a classroom, you sit in a lab, you just have to memorize stuff. I mean, you just have to have, like, the ability not to critically think or question anything. It's to regurgitate factual information for a test, to jump through a loophole to get this diploma, right? And as soon as they hand you that piece of paper, they're also they're strapping you with gigantic debt. Now you're going to go out on your own. You're going to hire office staff. You're going to try and pay keep the lights on. You're going to try and pay off your med school debt, raise a family, try and own a car and a house all at the same time, right? What are you going to do? You're going to take someone in that's a new patient and spend an hour with them, like talking about everything? Or you're going to take someone in, say, go get these labs drawn. They come back for the next 15 minutes visit. They're like, oh, this lab's abnormal. Here's the medication. That's it. Because you see 60 people a day, then you might be able to pay for all that stuff. Yeah. If you see like 6 people a day, you're not being reimbursed to pay for all that stuff. You're going to go in more debt.
Yeah.
Right? So the system is set up. And then when are they going to have time? So they're family practitioners seeing 60 people a day so they can pay their office staff, pay for all the stuff I mentioned, right? Tell me when, to see 60 people a day, just imagine that. Then you go home, whatever you might have left for your family, Tell me when you're going to read a study. Tell me when you're going to keep up on the medical literature. You're not. And even if you do, it's going to be a third party is going to tell you. And who's this third party? A Pfizer rep? Just dressed in street clothes?
More than likely.
Oh, guess what the latest study says? This med is great for high blood pressure.
Yeah.
The doctor's going to be like, okay, I remember that name for high blood pressure. Next time I have someone, I'm going to try it out on them. So half the people that are coming in there, unknowing, think they trust their doctor. Maybe the doctor seems like a nice guy. They're just guinea pigs.
Yeah, and that's all they are. Is they're not just guinea pigs, they're money machines.
Oh yeah, and that's the whole system.
And I'm sure we've talked about it on here before, but I mean that's really what it is. And all these doctors are doing is hooking up with pill companies. They're Dr. Pill Popper.
Yeah.
And so and it's kind of like what you said, you know, what was I just thinking about? Oh, do you remember Jerry Maguire?
Oh yeah,
the movie Tom Cruise.
Show me the money.
Yeah, but he goes off on that tangent about less clients, more one-on-one attention, and all that stuff, right?
Sure.
And they vilified him. They thought he was a fucking nut job. Why would you do that? You know, because you're not making any money.
Right.
And that's what they're all about, is bottom line. So
right.
What suffers? Your one-on-one attention with your clients and actually caring about their career and them being the best that they can be as an athlete or whatever the fuck it is, you know, that suffers because you can't give them the time and attention that they deserve because you've got 100 other clients that you got to work with.
Right.
And that's essentially what doctors are.
Now there is...
They schedule 10, 15 minutes, 20 at most for each patient, and all they're doing is, here, take a pill, here, take a pill, here, take a pill. Oh, let's weigh you real quick. You're 20 pounds overweight. You need to jump on the treadmill.
Right.
But here, you could take a pill.
Right.
Here's some Ozempic. You'll eat less.
Right. Your blood pressure's a little bit up. Let's double like what you're taking, right? Let's increase the dosage.
Yeah.
Even in the best case scenario, let's say you're in your 70s, 80s now, you're retired, you've seen this doctor for decades, you have this relationship with your doctor, you go to their clinic periodically, you guys know each other's kids and whatever. You're sending each other's Christmas cards. Great relationship with your doctor. Now it hits the fan. You got chest pain, you're in the ER. Seeing an ER doctor who you don't know. The ER doctor says, I think we have to admit you. You get admitted to the hospital. Who are you seeing? You're not seeing the doctor that you established a rapport with, right? You're seeing odds are, you're seeing a foreign medical graduate who's now got your file for the first time, right? Is looking through your file and going to be taking care of you when you're at your worst, when you're now in a place that basically kills people. And it's not me saying this. This is when I did a cardiology rotation as a medical student. This guy, he was fantastic. He was from the Northeast, but he dressed like a cowboy, bolo tie and cowboy boots. He didn't wear a white coat, always had the stethoscope parallel to his bolo tie. And he used a Socratic method, and he had us in a semicircle, and he says, hospitals kill people. Your job is to find a way to discharge every patient that you round on today. Do not keep them in here, right? So that's him. This is my official instructor, right? So now you're at your worst, and your doctor, who you've known for years, who's been managing your health, is nowhere to be found because he's still at the clinic seeing 60 people to pay for all that stuff. You've been handed over to someone who's a complete stranger. So getting back to your point about quality or cost or number of clients, that has opened a door for a small niche called boutique medicine, right? I don't know if it's even exists in these parts, but I know where I used to live it existed. And what that is like, okay, Dave, I want you to be my doctor. I'm going to pay you, let's say you $5,000. I'll pay you $5,000 cash and you're my doctor, right? That means you're out having dinner with your girlfriend and I'm having like shortness of breath. I can text you. I have access to you. I get admitted to from the emergency room into the hospital. I see you. I don't see some doctor I've never seen before. So that has opened up an avenue for that. But most people are like, I just use my insurance.
Yeah, you're talking about like absolute personalized care.
Yes.
Like I pay you to see you and be treated by you.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this is a moral issue. because if you're talking about something else, if you're talking about someone's money, so you're a financial advisor, right? And so you're just, whatever you do is motivated by money. You're helping someone else make money, manage money. I don't see a moral issue with that unless you're doing something, nefarious, like illegal, like stealing, right? If you're a lawyer, right? It's an adversarial type of situation. You're kind of fighting other lawyers, other companies, and that whole process. I mean, as corrupt as the legal system might be, it's still not dealing with someone's actual physical life, right? Now you go into medicine, right? It's like, this is someone's actual physical life. So for me, it's like a real moral dilemma, which I have to rationalize every single day, right? And so I'm blessed because of my specialty, because I don't write any prescriptions, right? Because if I was writing prescriptions right now, I'd really be probably depressed, or I probably would have had to quit and find something else to do. So I just rationalize it, like, okay, I'm still part of this system. I'm still watching what's going on, but for the most part, when they compensate me, I'm not spending my money back on this system, right? Yeah. I'm putting my money somewhere else, alternative places, like the guy online that I do my quarterly detox program with, right? Or a chiropractor, or something that's outside. I didn't know you were doing that. Of the system, yeah. So that's the moral quandary. It's like, okay, I don't have any problem with anyone making money. Be as rich as you want. There's not any envy with me at all. But it's like the way you make money. If you're making money off of, right? So here's another part of the brilliant setup, right?
If you're doing it in a piece of shit way off of everybody else's suffering, then yeah, you're kind of a fucking asshole.
So the people that make the most are, or actually the closest tied, are the ones that have to peddle like the most serious concoctions, right? I'm talking about chemotherapy, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. So, or even psychiatric medication, right? So it was actually a Joe Rogan. One of the rabbit holes I went down was a result of a Joe Rogan interview. I don't even know if it's available anymore, because Kelly Brogan, MD, who was
that name's familiar. I'm sure I've seen her on there.
She was put on the disinformation dozen list when COVID came out, right? So
was it Kelly Brogan?
Yeah, B as in boy, ROGAN, and I happened to hear that podcast, and she referred to a book written by a journalist called Whitaker, and his simple question, he wasn't even a physician. I mean, he wasn't a scientist by trade. He was a journalist. But his question, the premise of the book is, if these psychiatric medications work so well, why do the number of prescriptions continue to go up and up and up?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it doesn't make sense. So all the white papers he found that were suppressed, right? So the reason why I'm paralleling it with oncology and cancer is this. You come in, Dave, you're upset. You lost your dog. You're very close with your dog. You're feeling down. You need some little help. The psychiatrist says, you know what? Take this Prozac. A few weeks, you'll probably be feeling a little bit better. And you come back in a few weeks, and like out of nowhere, never before in your life have you had this, you tell the doctor, like, it's weird because I feel a little bit better, but at the same time, for the first time, I'm thinking about suicide. And the doctor tells you, well, that's part of your disorder. That's part of your mood disorder, right? So anything that's a side effect gets blamed on the disease. Why I'm talking about chemotherapy is the patient dies, the patient gets sick or worse or whatever, you're going to blame it on the cancer. You're never going to blame it on the medication. The medication's there to save your life, right?
Yeah, but the medication itself kills you.
That's what I'm saying. But I mean, if
it literally destroys your entire ability to fight off infections. It kills your
But the drug companies
system
will never say that. They're going to say that you were killed by your cancer, not by the drugs. Our drugs are like saving people, right?
Well, I mean, and to jump into another sidebar that's similar to what they were doing in 2020. That 6-ton bus didn't kill him. COVID did.
Right. Well, that's the thing that
he just happened to have COVID and he got hit by a bus. He killed him.
Well, that's the humorous thing in a way, is the people that are always doing the causation or correlation, right? It's like, that wasn't really the causation, right? That it was just a correlation, right?
Yeah.
The bus was just happened to be there. It was really COVID that caused him to run into the bus, right? Something like that. But yet
if he hadn't have been sick and coughing because of COVID, he wouldn't have stepped in front of the bus because he would have been looking.
Exactly.
And so he wouldn't have got hit by the bus.
And then you fast forward to a year when they're doling out all these bioweapon injections, and they're being like, oh, there's absolutely no correlate. There's no causation there. It's just correlation. He always had a bad heart, right?
Yeah, but aren't they actually admitting now? Like, oh yeah, by the way, and then they do what is it, like studies. Over 1,400 different side effects from it?
Yeah, but then they do these internal reviews. It's like the cops reviewing themselves, like an internal investigation. Yeah. So the CDC will come out with the report like, oh, a study finds that, there's no link between like the vaccines and like heart. Because what are they going to do? The CDC is, this is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s like major platform for President of the United States, right? The CDC is not an independent corporation. It's a pharmaceutical company. It's bought and paid for by all the pharmaceutical industry,
right?
And then it's just like the official head, like, so we represent like independent, right? It's like the Food and Drug Administration, same thing. Like, who's paying them, right? So I've never been into cars, but I know you're more of a gearhead type of guy.
I wouldn't say gearhead, but yeah.
But closer than I am. So
I'm mechanically inclined.
Way back in the day when I was still like single, I liked cars enough to like wanted to try and learn a little bit about them. So I used to get Car and Driver, right? And then you look you look in Car and Driver, and in between these reviews, on the latest Ford Mustang, what am I seeing? Advertisements from Ford. It's kind of like the same thing. Okay, so I'm confused here. Ford clearly is paying this magazine, and it just so happens that the magazine gives a good review to one of their products, right? Yeah. That's the same thing that we're seeing in every other aspect, right? So it's like, oh, the CDC is supposed to be like Car and Driver. They're the independent reviewing committee, but they just happen to give a good review to Pfizer. Same thing with the FDA. Like, where did you get paid from? Oh, you got paid from the people to whom you gave a good review. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
If you don't give them a good review, get a good review, you're not going to get paid. Plain and simple. Right?
Yeah. It is. It's a bunch of shady fucking bullshit. That makes a lot of sense.
Which I hope more people are waking up to, and I think they are, because kids are dying, right? The excess mortality in young people.
Yeah. It doesn't make any fucking sense why perfectly healthy kids, high schoolers, and teenagers and stuff are just falling over dead with heart problems, or why so many of them now all of a sudden have heart problems,
right?
When it wasn't an issue 5 years ago, now all of a sudden it is,
right?
And nobody wants to own up to it and be like, oh, well, this bullshit that was never actually fully approved, we just fast-tracked it for whatever reason, that we decided to have you pump into all your kids to keep everyone safe. Maybe that has an effect. Maybe not. We don't think so. But it does. But it doesn't. Maybe. Could possibly. Yes, no.
Right.
Like, nobody wants to give a simple fucking straight answer. And why, what was it, the FDA that asked that judge for a 75-year block on all information about it?
Yep.
Why? Why 75 years? Like, why do we have to wait almost 8 decades to see any information about it?
If you got nothing to hide.
Yeah, exactly, right? Why not have transparency? Why not show us everything? Why not just like, this is what we're working on, this is what's going on, this is what's in it, this is how, blah, 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 and you could say that a part of that is, proprietary, whatever. They don't want to give away what's in it, right? Because it's proprietary information that the company, all that stuff. Like, okay, I guess I can understand that part of it. But when you're talking about something that you're going to try and force people to pump into their bodies,
right?
Fuck you. I don't care about your proprietary information. There should be full transparency. What's in this crap?
Or at least if you're not going to provide it to me, I have the right to decline it.
Yeah, no shit, right?
Right.
If you're not going to tell me what's in it, what it's made of, right, and what it's going to do, or what you know it could possibly do, good or bad, I should have a choice in whether or not I do it. And that means when we say choice, that means no ramifications whatsoever. I should be able to say, no, it's not for me, thanks, but no thanks. And I don't lose my job. I don't get ostracized by the government or anything else. I just go about my business. Life is normal. That's what me having the choice to say no means.
Yeah, and it's the same people that say my body, my choice, but it's like not for this. Like they want to mandate, like, you know, some experimental injection to you. And then they don't even, for the most part, they don't even examine why do we need this injection? Why is this injection needed? Okay, so it's for this unique virus, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, show me the unique virus, right? So it's like this is getting back into stuff we probably talked about. And the bottom line of it is there's never been anyone who's been able to provide the legitimate data that this unique virus has been isolated, purified, and shown to be the sole cause for the disease being reported, right? Every time it's anything, it's just like a bunch of like mucus or snot that's put for someone. Well, what's in the snot? It's the snot's only virus? You're telling me there's not other possible toxins in there? Like, we don't know because you've never isolated it. So that whole thing is a joke that no one wants to examine because, like I said, the doctors don't have time to examine these articles. Some do, and some that dive into it go like, this is complete nonsense. You didn't prove anything, right? You got this published, right, in a journal sponsored by Pfizer, right? So here it comes, right? So the whole thing is just another huge lie, and just like, and then you just start realizing how many other lies have we been told, right? So I know you wanted to do like when the whole conspiracy theory like podcast thing, whatever. So I'm in touch with I'm still
going to work on my end.
I'm in touch with people. I'm not friends with them, but people that believe in a lot of other things that I haven't really delved into yet, right? That I kind of think, they're probably right. You know, for example, like flat Earth and like the moon landing and all that stuff, right? So I'm like most people who have been to public schools, I believe what the conventional narrative is regarding, you know, we live on a sphere Earth and like, in 69 we land on the moon. But I'm getting skeptical just because I know we've been lied to about other things, right? But again, I haven't looked into it.
Well, and that makes sense. That makes sense.
But the first,
and I've said it too, like, you know, that there's so many people out there that are like, trust the government, blah, 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 you know, take the vaccine, it's for our safety, but all that stuff, whatever it is, you know, not just that, but whatever it is you're looking at, there's a lot of people out there where it seems like they preach, oh, well, they would never do that to us, you know, and not to dive too much into, you know, the conspiracy theory podcast, but if they have done all of this other shit to us before, you know, that they have now admitted to doing, then why the fuck wouldn't you believe that they would do any of this other bullshit? Why are you okay with saying like they would never do that when they did this? You know, MK Ultra and everything else, where they were dosing people with acid just to see if they could figure out how to control people's minds and whatever else. Like,
Tuskegee experiment.
Right? So purposely injecting, you know, African Americans with syphilis.
So you're now basically in a private voluntary. You can make the argument, okay, you're voluntarily going to agree to the government now acting as your basically healthcare provider, right? So that's where you're going to hire them. So you're the employer essentially, right? I'm going to employ this entity, whatever it is. Maybe it's not necessarily a person for a job, but it's essentially now we're going to say the government. I'm going to employ the federal government to be my agent for healthcare. Well, what do you do when you hire anyone that's going to be your employee? Do you not look at their resume?
Yeah, no shit, right?
So look at the resume of the government. Right? Yeah. Just look at the resume. And the resume of the government, the United States government, is way worse than we've actually been instructed, right?
Yeah,
so there's a lot of stuff. There's only the stuff that's available to us. You'd be like, I don't think I want to hire you, right? I don't think I want to hire you. So
even if I'm going to hire a guy just to mow my lawn, I'm gonna ask him, you know, about other places that he's worked at, other jobs that he's done.
You're going to get references.
Something, right? Yeah.
I mean, I mean, the trust in the government, yeah. And anyways, but getting back to,
and that's the thing though, is I'm not saying 100% like, fuck the government, but I don't believe for a second that the government should just be disbanded and that we shouldn't have anything. Like there was always a good purpose and a reason behind having it, and that's fine. But I think we as a country have gotten so far off track, and we've given them so much more power that they never should have had. And that's because something happens, whether it's by accident or design, however you want to look at it, whatever. And our knee-jerk reaction is to say, we need more legislation, we need this, blah, blah, blah. We need helmet laws. Everyone should have to wear helmets so that they're protected in case they get in. Why? Why do I have to wear a helmet just because your stupid fucking kid got hit by a car? If I want to get hit by a car and die too, that's my choice. If you didn't want your kid to get hit by a car and die, you should have made him wear a helmet. What does that have to do with me? And that's what I'm getting at. Like, too many people have knee-jerk reacted to harsh tragedies and been like, here, government, you make all the rules and tell us what to do. Why? That makes no fucking sense to me.
The best explanation I can give is that people are afraid to govern themselves. They just don't want to do it for themselves. They'd rather just outsource it, right? It's like, oh, you're a so-called expert. It's like, an expert? Really? Okay, why are you an expert? You're an expert on my life? I haven't even met you.
Well, because it's easier to let somebody else tell you what to do than it is to govern yourself.
People want to be told what to do a lot.
Unfortunately,
they at the same time, they cry out that they want freedom. Mm-hmm. Freedom from what?
Yeah. I find it funny that the guy who sang, oh my God, my mind just went blank. Oh, the guy who sang "Keep on Rockin' in the Free World."
Oh yeah,
got so huffy puffy and pissed off about people not taking a government mandated vaccine, and about a streaming service allowing somebody else to state their opinion, that he then took his entire music catalog off of that streaming service.
I'll take it one step further. Rage Against the Machine.
Oh yeah, fuck them too.
You had to be right. Well, what's one of their lyrics? They're supposed to be. Their name is like,
"Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me." Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
That's what the fans really should say to them when they say you must be jabbed to get into our concert. Right? It makes absolutely no sense, right?
It doesn't. It makes no fucking sense.
So it's rage for the machine, right? They're just part of the machine too. So they probably got a kickback from Pfizer or something, follow the money. And then of course, anytime the Foo Fighters come on, like the radio at all, I have to change it immediately because I'm thoroughly convinced that Dave Grohl had his drummer killed by forcing him to get jabbed.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean,
it's interesting.
Taylor Hawkins was too young. I think he was only 50. And I don't think he wanted it either. The Offspring drummer, whose name escapes me, was told by his own physician because of other medical conditions that he had that he was actually, to my surprise, advised by his physician not to get it, and he was kicked out of the band.
Yeah.
So Offspring can go pound sand as far as I'm concerned too. Not that I was a huge fan of them ever, but
I mean that's exactly what I'm talking about though, is people knee-jerk reacting to things that we have no understanding of just because it's some tragedy or because we're afraid. Instead of looking at yourself and saying like, yes, this is scary, but I'm going to handle myself and I'm going to handle my life the way that I need to handle it. But instead, we need more legislation. We need more laws. We need blah, 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 blah. Here, big government, take care of everything for me. Make me safe. Fuck you.
Right.
Your safety is not and was never guaranteed. You have to do what you have to do for your safety, which means if you feel it's important for you to get the jab for the sake of your health, do it. I have no problem with anybody who does it or wants to do it. Go ahead. If you think it's right for you, go ahead. I'm not going to judge you. I have my own opinion about it, but my opinion doesn't matter. What matters is what you think for you. Plain and simple.
Right. Well,
so stop trying to fucking make me do it.
There is this Belgian guy who, Desmond, I can't remember his full name, but he was talking about the mass formation. And I think people like Robert Malone, Dr. Malone, was attributed to developing some of the mRNA vaccines, he mentioned it in some of his talks. And that is a lot of people who kind of were living these quiet, desperate lives and didn't really have an influence. This whole pandemic gave them the power, right? Because a lot of what I hear you saying, Dave, is like about power. People want power over other people's lives, right?
Which is exactly what it is.
Here we have a problem,
power
right?
Over the
So
people.
I want to control you. I want you to comply, right? And so these people that had nothing going on in their lives, right? They now like can tell someone else, hey, your mask is below your nose. You know, get that mask up. You know, they can deny people access to restaurants because they don't have like their jab card or something like that, right? So, so all of a sudden, all these
show me your papers,
and so and at the same time, they tout the importance of privacy, right? I have to take these regular tests to maintain like credentialing. They talk all the time about like HIPAA, right? The health privacy, everything. You can't do this. You can't even access your own information or that of a relative on a hospital computers. So everything is so super private. You have to go through all this stuff. But meanwhile, you're asking me about a medical situation, technically, that's completely private, and I don't even know you.
Right.
That's a HIPAA violation right there. Every single one of those times should be considered a HIPAA violation.
Well, yeah.
So it's just a total. But just
joke, like Arnold Schwarzenegger said, screw your rights.
Screw your freedoms.
Screw your freedoms.
Right.
Okay.
That's fine.
Sure.
So, I mean, people, so, I mean, I don't know. But what I wanted to say, totally different subject, but these rabbit holes, like one of the rabbit holes I think that started it all for me was still back in the 90s. And this is probably like the only opportunity we'll have to discuss it because of the timing of it, right? So O.J. Simpson died recently, right, from cancer. And you see the clips, all right? See his pictures of him getting the jab and him saying like, oh, I saw this doctor on TV, and she said, you know, getting the vaccine is like wearing a seatbelt. You know, it's not going to absolutely prevent your death, but it makes it less chance that you're going to get injured, you know, or get harm from it. So he develops cancer, arguably probably a turbo cancer. Yeah, he was 76, but anyways.
You know what I find interesting, just an offshoot on this subject? I didn't even realize that he had died, except for the fact that all the O.J. Simpson memes started flowing on Facebook, and I was like, the fuck is this all about? And then I had to Google him, and then it was like, O.J. Simpson dies at 70, and I was like, oh no shit. Okay, that makes sense.
Our kid and my friends like told me about it. I didn't even know. Because there's sometimes I take these long fasts from news. I'm just like, I'm happy when I don't check in on it. But
I've been on a fast for a while. I'm actually just starting to get back into looking at the news.
I was listening to an AM radio station when I lived in LA as I'm driving back from work, the days before podcasts and audiobooks, and the local DJs, afternoon DJs, were interviewing this private investigator from Chicago. His name was William C. Deere, and he came out to LA and he did his own independent private investigation of the O.J. Simpson murders, like from scratch. Did it all. And of course, I have the book. I didn't bring it with me, but I'm going to try and summarize it here. O.J. had a son, right, who was an adult. He was probably in his mid to late 20s at the time. His name's Jason, and from another relationship. It wasn't Nicole's son, but Jason was someone who had a psychiatric disorder to the point where he was taking some pretty heavy medication, including medication that some people that have seizures are put on, right? This is something called Depakote. So,
it's an anti-seizure medication, right?
And so, but that he didn't have seizures. He had like some forms of psychosis. So Jason was infatuated and had a crush on Nicole, his dad's wife, right? His dad's new wife, and was really wanting Nicole, as she promised, to show up to his debut as a chef in LA, right? She said, I'll be there for you, Jason. I know this is a big day. Something like that. So he's going to have this huge debut as a chef. She doesn't show up. he goes and tries to find out. You know, he's coming back from the restaurant. He's got his whole rolled up bag of knives with him. He finds her with another man, Ron Goldman, and he freaks. Kills them both. Panics, right? Calls his dad. Dad, what do I do? This thing happened. Of course, he's about the same size as OJ, meaning the same size shoes.
Yeah.
Probably close to the same size gloves, right? OJ comes, covers up for his son. I mean, who else would you be willing to go to jail for, right? And to risk yourself for, but your own kid. So the title of the book is OJ is guilty, but not of murder. So OJ essentially covered up the murders committed by his son, Jason. That's the whole premise, this is the synopsis that I can remember because I read it years ago. Even though I got a recent copy, it was hard to get because there's not many in print. But I do have a copy, and I haven't.
It sounds familiar.
Well, I may have mentioned it to you before, but anyways, my point is that this was the first kind of rabbit hole where I could realize, okay, maybe I have like enough of an open mind that if other like new information is presented to me on other topics, I might be able to accept it, you know, and critically think about it. And as that, especially since I relocated to Northern Idaho, that's kind of like just become on steroids for me. Like I've learned about so much so that when I went back to LA this last week to visit a college with our daughter, like I ran into some old friends, and it's just like, other than discussing our common past, it really was not in a situation where I could discuss any of these rabbit holes that I gone down, because I know like they'd probably just look at me and think, you know, I'm crazy, and that's okay, you know.
Yeah, how did that go? How was that trip down there to LA? It was
kind of a little bit emotional roller coaster. So the college is great. College is beautiful. I don't think that's where she wants to go. I think if we would have visited LA maybe a few years ago, like this is her first time really being back since we relocated, so almost 5 years, she would have gotten her little fix, like, you know, gone to the restaurant she wanted, seen some people that she wanted, and she may not have even applied to that school, you know. The school's a great school. I mean,
but that was still just one of those things where it was like apply to everywhere.
Well,
or at least all the ones that you really would want to go to, possibly, that have like the best programs.
And blah, blah, blah. And she didn't think, because, you know, her freshman year was tainted by the pandemic, that she doesn't have the great GPA, so she didn't think she would get in here. But her advisor's like, you know, try to, you know, apply to a school where you don't think you're going to get in, but you think you might want to go.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the school looks great on paper. They had a very polished event. You know, it was really well done.
As far as like for receiving prospective students.
Yeah. So all the people that were there were parents and family and students that had already been accepted. Right. So they had common events for everyone at the beginning, and then they split up. The students went one way and the parents and family went the other way, and listened to different things. And it was all really well done. And we went to the Dodger game and met up with friends like that night after that, and to my surprise, our daughter really had a good time, like at the game. She was talking to people that are just, you know, fans in the stands, and I didn't think she'd have as good of a time because they're mostly with my friends, right? But then the next night, she met up with a friend she used to go to school with out there, and that didn't go very well. And I was meeting up with my friends, like other friends, and she took a lift and met us, and I could see the look in her eyes, like she said she didn't want to be there, and she was sad because it did not go well with her old friend. And she also at the same time saw like the friendships that I had, and kind of like wished that she had something like that. And so I kind of knew at that moment that she's probably not going to pick this school. She probably doesn't want to come back here. Fortunately, thank God, later that night when I got back to the hotel after she was resting, she woke up hungry, and we found a fat burger that was like within walking distance.
Nice.
And we just had a blast. We like belly laughed because the people that were working there were just tweaking on something, so it was just like it was so much fun. So I was just so thankful that what were tears of sadness earlier could be turned into belly laughs later. So we came home happy. She hasn't made her decision yet, but I guess my original point was I feel like it's stuck in time when I go back and I see these people, other than them looking fatter and older, they look pretty much the same. They kind of sound the same. They think the same. I feel like what a blessing it was that, and I attribute it to my wife, that she got us out of there, because I wouldn't have experienced all this personal growth. I would have met people like you and Jameson and Brady, all these outstanding men, had I not been extricated from that situation. I would have just been stayed in that relatively comfortable, non-moving, I would not have experienced. So I'm so glad.
Well, and I mean, that's typically what happens is, people without, a lot of people, I think, without some kind of a push, I guess, into something different, you get into your lane and you stay there, because you get comfortable or whatever it is. And that happens pretty much with everybody.
And this kind of goes
It's happened to me plenty of times. It's not happening right now. I don't know.
This goes back to like an earlier statement you made about just like, keep it going, like quantity of life, and this is all the quality that I know, and let's just keep it rolling. Yeah.
Well, and I think that's kind of the point that I was fucking going with on that was, you can die at any minute. So while taking care of yourself and trying to live a reasonably healthy life is important, yeah, of course it is. We want to be here for as long as we possibly can, always. We all do. But when you put so much time and effort into worrying about all the stuff that could kill you, that you lose sight of what the good things are about all of those things that can kill you, in my opinion, you're not really living.
Yeah.
If you're living this, and I say living in quotes, hey, look, we have cameras. I don't have to air quote it now.
Right.
When you're living in this, life of constant worry about, oh, don't do that. That'll hurt you. Don't do that. Oh, blah, blah. And you're just in this constant box, It's like you were saying with people who are adrenaline junkies. Okay, bungee jumping, probably not for me, but I get it. I don't know that I'll ever do it. I mean, I'm more of a try anything once kind of person. Sure, I'd like to skydive at some point, and I guarantee it's going to be tough jumping out of a perfectly good airplane thinking, why the fuck am I doing this? But I'll probably do it, because I'm also the kind of person where if I've paid the money,
right,
and I get in the plane,
right,
and I'm all the way up there at 35,000 feet,
you ain't turning back.
I'm not going to be like, nah, you know what? Let's go back down. I'm fine. No, I'm gonna jump.
Right.
You're there. You might as well do it.
Because you already know it's going to be worse when you get to the ground, like, and not jumping. You're going to be like, I paid all that money.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to get back to the airport and feel like a pussy ass son of a bitch who missed out on an opportunity that I still have to pay for. Like, they're not just going to give me my money back because I didn't jump.
No.
And it's not necessarily about the money. It's the fact that I had that opportunity and now I may miss out on it because I was too scared to jump.
Yeah. And
sometimes you just have to jump. So
going back to the college thing, there was a question I had on my mind, right? And with this Q&A with the student panel, inside my mind, I was battling the two virtues of like courage to ask the question and like humility, just to be like not so ego driven to ask this question, because like the answer you're going to get is not going to be, probably know it's not going to be satisfactory. So I just kind of kept my mouth shut and be like, I mean, the advantage was like the students, that is our daughter and other students weren't with the parents at that time, so it's not like I would have asked it in front of her and subjected her to potential embarrassment, but I know what you're saying, because it's like, you don't, sometimes courage is, it's not available, or you can't access it, and then you think back on it and you're like, why didn't I do that? So I kind of regret it. I mean, at the time I thought like, okay, you're just kind of being egotistical and you can just keep your mouth shut and listen to the rest of it. But now that I haven't asked it, I kind of I kind of like regret it a little bit. But what are you going to do? That's just something you learn from, and then next time that if the opportunity presents itself again, you remember that and you be like, okay, how am I going to do things differently, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, there's no guarantee that you won't ever get a second chance.
Right. Well, I mean, this is it. I only got one kid.
Well, yeah,
that's the
true.
last college that I visited. So, but I mean, just in general, it's like when you think about, courage. But you mentioned something that reminded me of at least the Christian faith, because no matter how many times you translate the Bible and whatever version of the Bible you even have, like now, which there's so many different versions now in English, it's like for at least one time for every day of the year, it's been told to us, right, by our Lord and Savior, do not be afraid. Yet people are still afraid, right? And Christians too, so-called practicing Christians, they'll simultaneously be afraid, right, as they're instructed not to be afraid, right, and claim that they're still of the faith. It's like, look, you have to have faith at some point. Like you said earlier, we're all going to die. But it's just like, so it's hard now because in the men's group we talk about one of the P's is protection, right? So like now protection is, how do you protect? Yeah, if they're in diapers or just like walking or in elementary school, yeah, it's easy to protect them with like shelter and other ways of protecting them. And you can protect your wife if you think she's vulnerable. But when your child reaches an age of adulthood, like what exactly are you protecting anymore? Yeah. Right? I mean, they have their own life. They want to pursue their own dreams and goals. And it's like, how do you can't physically protect them anymore, right? So I think the protection has to take on a different definition then. And so I have this battle all the time because my wife is like, well, what about if she goes so far away from college, you can't protect her? It's like, I can't protect her right now being in the same area, right?
Right.
I mean, you just can't. Like you said, it can happen anytime.
Right. And we talked about that, and that's exactly what I was getting at, is that at some point, that's how the cycle goes. That's how it's supposed to go. Your children grow, right? And you hope that you've taught them everything that you possibly can to at least show them a path to being, developed adults, how to take care of themselves, how to pay their own bills, how to buy food, how to take care of themselves, how to ask for help in some manner when they need it. Like the car breaks down, if you don't know how to fix it, okay, then call an auto shop and make an appointment, all of those things. And up until that point where they've reached, adulthood, where they now have to do that stuff on their own, like, yeah, okay, you're protecting them in every way that you can. You're making their doctor's appointments. You're holding their hand when you cross the street and looking both ways because they aren't, all of that stuff. Somebody breaks into the house, you're ready to cut somebody's fucking head off to make sure that they don't hurt your kids, right? I mean, that's how it is. But then at that point where they've reached adulthood, it's time for them to fly the coop and get out of the nest and go on their own. And at some point, do that for their own children. And yes, while you still can protect them in a sense, which is really the only protection that you can offer them is by being there in any possible way that you can be, because you can't physically protect them anymore at every given time. Because if all you do is constantly hold them back because you're afraid that something might happen to them, then nothing will ever happen to them. They'll never go anywhere. They'll never do anything. They'll never seek out opportunities for themselves. They'll just stay in this quiet, comfy little bubble in your fucking basement where thankfully they'll never get hurt, but they'll never have their own goddamn life either.
And now you've compromised the quality of two lives.
Right.
The parents by like being so obsessively worried, and the child's like overprotecting.
Right. And that's how you end up with 45-year-old children still living in your house that should be out, at a job or traveling and experiencing the world or learning whatever they need to learn to build their own business, and take on the world and make money. And, and we talk about making money and all that stuff, which really shouldn't be that important, but it kind of is, because that's how the world works, right?
It is.
You trade your life force for this stuff or some sort of tangible or intangible thing that allows you to trade for goods and services to live. I mean, that's all it is.
Right.
Is money that important? No, but it is if you want to travel and see things and do stuff and all this other stuff. So is it necessarily important? Something you have to have? Only within the scope of your lifestyle. If you can survive on, the $12,000 a year, have at it.
The minimalists, yeah. That's just the way and it's just a reminder of how much we will be tied to this materialistic world. I think back to the podcast you had with Luke, and he was talking about materialism, and I know how you kind of had different definitions of it because the word's kind of broad, right?
Right.
But we are still, even though we have to pay the bills and have to exchange some of our soul energy, as you said, for compensation to pay these bills, we're still spiritual beings, right? We have to be reminded of that,
right?
And as long as we keep that in mind as we go about our living, I think we'll have more fulfillment. We'll have more just wider, broader quality experiences, like while we're on this earth, right? If it's not just all about like money and all about bills. Even people that make tons of money, Dave, like I think we've kind of touched on this. They get to a point, right? And then like they've had more money than they can spend in 10 lifetimes, so they have to do something else. And what do they do with this drive that they've always had that got them so rich? They have to have control, right?
Yeah.
So now
even people that have shit tons of money, they're not really that happy.
Oh, yeah.
Because it takes so much time, energy, and effort in order to keep that money, then you really have to do anything with it. So it's almost like there is this delicate balance of, how much of my life am I willing to give up to have all this money to be able to do anything I want, versus I can't really do anything I want because I spend all of my time, energy, and life gaining money to do whatever I want.
Diminishing rate of return, right? So I know they did a study.
Yeah, there's that balance.
Probably hasn't memorized, but I can't remember how long ago the study was, but they tried to take some kind of they try to get a number, like where like your happiness will increase up until you make like X amount of dollars a year, and I can't remember what that number is. I want to say like 100,000 or something, and then after that, every amount that you make over that, it's either flat or like it starts to go down.
Yeah.
In terms of like degrees of happiness.
Yeah. So and it depends on every person. Where that balance is,
right? So I mean, I don't know. I didn't look at the details of this study, like how they actually did it, and plus, like, how do you can't quantify happiness? That's all like subjective interview, right?
Yeah. If you're Elon Musk and you get a great sense of personal satisfaction out of sleeping on a gigafactory floor,
right?
And like being a part of that whole thing, okay, whatever. Then I guess you're fine.
Right.
It is very dependent person to person on where that balance is. But again, going back to your children, that's part of those values and life things that you teach them on their way to becoming an adult, to figure out what they want for their lifestyle, to move on, get out of your nest, and go build their own.
Yeah, and most of that's been taught long ago, right? When they're really little, that's when they learn it all.
Yeah, but you can only physically protect them up to a certain point, and then after that, it's out of your hands.
That's the discussion that I'm having right now, because the chances seem pretty good that our daughter's going to want to choose the college that's actually geographically the farthest away from us, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's going to be a real challenge, especially for her mom. But again, it's her life, and I did the same thing. I mean, I went to a college 3,000 miles away from where my parents were, and it was rough. Freshman year, parts of it were rough, but that's what adds to. in a strange way, quality of your life, right? It gives you the lessons, like you said, like you're not going to insulate them as a 45-year-old in the basement. How are they going to learn anything?
Yeah.
Right? How are they going to learn who they are, right? I learned who I was, and I learned about the world too, because I thought that the world was just like the high school I went to. It's just like bigger, right? And boy, was that a shock to learn that that's not true, right? So, I mean, you get so tunnel vision, especially when you're younger. You think it's all, the world's kind of revolving around you, and your high school and your clique and everything like that's going to be like that way forever. It's, but just expand it to a different geographical location. They're like, no, there's a lot of differences in this world. There's a lot to be learned.
Yeah.
So how would you, if you love someone, why would you deprive them of that?
Well, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if you love somebody, set them free.
I agree.
Don't keep them caged up like an animal.
Yeah. They're gonna want to be free, and then you think about what is the quality of the relationship you'd have with them, right? How is it? This is all related. Everything we're talking about is like when someone tries to control you, says you must wear a helmet or you must wear a mask, whatever it is. How do you react to that person trying to control you? What, you're like, oh, you love me so much. Thank you for like controlling me and telling me what to do. Like, I don't think that's very common. Right? I think it's more like, screw you. Like I'm old enough to make my own decisions.
Yeah.
Right? I don't need you telling me what to do.
The only time somebody ever really does say that is when they've been brainwashed and manipulated into believing that, it's for your own good and blah, blah, blah. You don't know what's out there. I'm protecting you. And they're like, since they don't know any better, like, oh, okay, you must really love me. Thank you.
Right.
No. But see, it's funny. I mean, not funny. I mean, it is what it is. But just the way that you talk about, going on these trips with your daughter and the things that you guys have, done together and all that stuff. And you're talking about, okay, she may end up on the other side of the country, right? Mm-hmm. But it seems like you guys have such a great relationship and a great bond because you're there and you're working with her on helping her decide what to do with the rest of her life. You're not inserting yourself and what you want for her into that chain. It's nope. You're helping her gain her freedom, which is an important thing for everybody.
And I remind her,
and it just the way you talk, it seems like that is solidifying your guys' relationship, and it's pretty awesome.
And so what's ironic is like geographically she could be the farthest in terms of miles from home, but yet the relationship can be closer than ever because she's made that choice. Versus like being compelled or coerced into being geographically close to home, and then the relationship's like worse than it's ever been because I told her what to do.
Right.
So it's like,
instead of forcing her to be a doctor or a lawyer and to go to some school that's only 20 miles away so that you can see her whenever you want to.
Right.
It's no, you do what you want to do and you go where you want to go. Right. And I'm going to be behind that 100% and support you and help you get there.
And she's heard it, and I have to remind her because even though it's just falling on deaf ears, because the generations have changed since I was going to college, and I just say, like, if you don't want to go to college at all, that's still an option, right?
Yeah.
You have that option. Don't feel like you have to go to college. I know she wants to go to college. I know she's going to end up going to college, but I have to remind her, right? Because my parents' generation is like, they wouldn't have even met if they not been college graduates. So one of their top priorities was college, right? So it was always, you're going to college, so it's like that wasn't even an option for me. So, yeah.
And that's the thing, though. It is true in this day and age. I mean, really, in any day and age, it's been fucking spoon-fed to us that we have to go to college. You have to get a degree. You have to go to college. You have to get a degree if you want to be anything. And that's not true.
Right.
It never has been true.
Absolutely.
But we've been brainwashed into believing it for so long. There's so many jobs out there, especially trades,
Yes.
And I think we've talked about this before. There's so many things out there where you can make a really good living. A lot of them you can make six figures at.
Oh yeah, and you're laughing at the college kid in debt who's like working as a barista to pay off their gender studies program, right?
Yeah.
So one of my friends who met me when we were out there, he met me for dinner in LA. He didn't go to college. He went straight. I remember coming home from college, and I used to see him there's a place in California. It's kind of a little bit of a boutique grocery store, I guess. It's called Bristol Farms, and he was behind the deli counter, like slicing meats, right? Just grinding out like menial job, so to speak. Didn't go to college. The guy has now worked his way up in that company. He's like an executive vice president. He's traveling all over the place. He did his dues. He's a total company man. And I'm just telling our daughters, like, do you see that guy Mike? Like, that guy worked his way up, doesn't have a college degree. I absolutely agree with you. In fact, I was having a discussion with either one of the parents or someone who worked at Occidental when I was there. I said, we're getting to the point where if the kid is smart enough to get into one of these schools, right, because you're saying that this is a pretty relatively hard school to get into, then they might be smart enough that if their parents just cut them a check for whatever it is, $250,000, $300,000, however much the tuition is going to be for 4 years, they could probably make a life for themselves. They wouldn't need the degree.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you can get into Harvard or Yale, and like Yale is like what? Someone looked it up for me. It's like $90,000 a year now, like room and board, tuition, everything. $90,000 a year, right? So if I just like, you're smart enough to get into Yale, let me just give you the money, right? Let me just give you all that money, $360K, write you a check for it. Don't have to go to Yale. You think they'd be able to do it? Okay. I mean, whatever. They could just put it in the market. They could do a startup, right? They could develop an app. Whatever, they could be an entrepreneur and not need the degree, because how much of the stuff, especially what I learned, like not applicable to my life at all, right?
Yeah.
So much of what you learn is not relevant to the job that you end up getting, right?
It's an interesting thought. I mean, that's kind of the same baseline as the fucking stimulus thing, that they did at the end of Bush's term,
right,
where they gave everybody, it was like the max was what, $1,300 for families and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. I think I got like $600 or whatever.
Right.
Give the money out to the people and then let them do what they're going to do with it.
Right.
It's kind of similar to that, in that instead of spending it on a degree, take the money and do something with it.
I mean, you obviously.
I mean that's an interesting thing to look at, but so many places require that degree if you're going to go for whatever that degree is for.
That's part of the system. That's that you can't get away from. You need the degree. You need the degree to get to the next step, whether it's going to graduate school or whether it's just a job that you want. You need to have some type of diploma, and that's just the way the system's been set up. So
a locked and flawed system.
Yeah, I mean,
where everybody's trapped in some manner of speaking.
Yeah. The only way around it is here's the money. Have a great life and do whatever. Maybe you just want to buy a house and like have a small house and a garden, and then you're raising your own food, so you don't have to worry about paying for food. And then you go out and get a job that you like, like our buddy Jameson's, like doing woodwork and making furniture or something, like part-time. It's like,
yeah, that's right.
It's like, he's good at it. I mean, he's shown me some pictures and it seems like he likes it, and he's not slaving away like, 9 to 5, like the entire week. So
yeah, I haven't seen it. I knew he was doing that, but I haven't seen any of it. I need to check in with him.
Yeah,
see what he's up to. It's too bad he couldn't join us today.
I know, it's because he's working.
Yeah,
he's doing that. How are we doing on time? Oh, geez, it flies by, huh?
I know. Yeah, we got as much time as you want. I know you gotta get to work here pretty soon. So.
Eventually, got back to the grind. It's so funny too about just realizing when I was trained and how things are different than now than they were, and just all these things that I presumed everyone else was trained like the same way, but that's not the case. There's just little things The example was last night, one of my colleagues, he logs off, his shift is over and I'm still working, and someone at the call center says, oh, can you add an addendum to this report because he called it, this particular tube, and it's not that tube, it's this other tube that's there. And I said, okay, no problem. So I did it. Big deal. It's just like one sentence. It takes me like 2 minutes, if that. And the call center is like, oh, thank you so much. You would be shocked at how many radiologists say like, no, they're not doing it. Because if they didn't look at the original report, they're not going to amend a report that they didn't read. So it's like, what? Like, this is just part of the training. It's like the referring physician needs the correct report, and your colleague who did it isn't available. It's like, what? It's just, there's so many crazy things where people just think, oh, that's not my job. So, I mean, it's just the apathy, and I mean, people. That's the other thing about, I mean, everything we touched on before in terms of the medical industrial complex. People don't realize that jobs, and when I used to lecture to first year medical students at my former medical school, I used to put these stats up for them. It's just like, doctors aren't happy. Right? You need to know that. Yeah. Like, job satisfaction, doctors are not happy. So you sitting in this room think you're going to be so happy one day, you're just studying biochemistry and anatomy and thinking it's all great. You're not even close to doing what you're going to be doing for like 25, 30 years, right? Yeah. You're not even close. So once you start that, here are the stats. And I show like the percentage, like how low the percentages are for job satisfaction, right? And they're just wide-eyed. And I said, there's no harm or there's no shame in turning around now. And just like, you only have like 1 year of med school debt to pay off. That's not a lot. And they're just like, you can tell that none of them are taking me up on it. But even though I don't know for a fact, I can almost guarantee that where they are now, because I haven't taught in, I don't know, over 5 years now, so they're into their residencies and whatever, they're doing something else. I can guarantee that they're thinking about me and what I told them, because I know they're not happy, right? Because that's part of the setup of the system too, right? And so now it's manifested in the people that I work with. No one's happy, and they don't want to do like stuff that's just basic stuff that like it's part of your job. I don't know who ever told you your job description is like so to be picky and just, I don't know. It's just irritating. It's to the point where it's like I don't really like most of my colleagues. It's like I know a lot of people have work friends, and I shouldn't envious. Right. Envy's maybe like a strong word. I don't know if I'm envious of them, but it's nice. It's nice to have work friends. And in my previous jobs, I had some work friends, and now we're more friends because some of them I keep in touch with, but I don't have any real work friends like now. Like maybe one that I communicate with. I've never met him in real life. I've spoken to him on the phone and I text him, but it's just one of those situations where I don't get friendships through work,
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not that way either. I don't really hang out with people that I work with, I mean, I have some, and that's the thing, like a lot of people that not a lot, but several people that I've had on this podcast are people that either I worked with or actually worked for me. And that's just the way I do things. I don't like to mix it up too much with people that I work with.
Right.
Just because I don't know why, it just seems weird to me, and especially when I was still in a supervisor position, the people that I've had on, they don't work for me anymore. Mm-hmm. Either they quit or they've moved on, or it's, now it's after, I'm not a supervisor anymore. So whatever, it just, I don't know. It's just a weird thing for me.
Not mixing business with pleasure type of thing.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. Well, and especially because I don't know why, but I feel like I can compartmentalize it pretty well. Like I could go out with someone who works for me and have beers and hang out, like, and meet their family and all that stuff. But when it comes down to it, like if I'm in charge, if I have to fire you, that's the job. It sucks.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it, but I'll do it.
Right.
That has nothing to do with us having beers right now and hanging out.
Right.
It just is what it is.
Because in their mind, they're thinking like, oh, I'm not going to get fired because I had beers.
Right. And it's not even necessarily that they're thinking that, but that's how people are.
They'll perceive it that way.
Yeah. People will always tend to think like, oh, why are you going to let me go, man? I thought we had a good thing going. Blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, we did. You're awesome. I like hanging out with you outside of work, and I'll still hang out with you outside of work. But I've had to warn you too many times now about doing this job that you're not doing. And now it's time for me to not be nice anymore. And unfortunately, I got to let you go and find somebody else who'll do the job, because you're taking advantage and you think that just because we're friends, you can dick off and go take a shit for 2 hours and not do what I've asked you to do.
Yeah.
And that's that, you know?
Yeah.
So it just sucks. And that's why I decided a long time ago that it was just better to keep everything separate. Like, and that's all there is to it.
Our daughter asked me last night, like, if I were to do it over again, would I pick the same specialty? And I thought about it for a little bit. I'm like, you know what? Yeah. I mean, that's the one blessing. As much as I lament being a cog in this gigantic, like, medical industrial complex machine, like, it's such a blessing for me to have the specialty of, like, radiology, because it just fits my personality. You know, it covers the basic stuff that I really liked when I was a medical student, like mostly anatomy and pathology. And so I just could not see myself being part of the system in like any other type of specialty. Add to that, when I was still a medical student in the small community hospital where we rotated, I did my radiology residency. I got to see, it was like the gossip hub of the hospital, right? So the internist would come down and want to look at a CAT scan or something, and then after they looked at it and discussed it with the radiologist, they'd start complaining about a surgeon, right? And for whatever reason. And, you know, I told him to do this, and he did, you know, and then we're like, you just sit there and you just go, oh, okay, very good. You don't give an opinion, right? Because you're getting referrals from both him and the surgeon. You're not taking sides. You're like Switzerland. You're like, and then hours later, the surgeon comes down, looks at a CAT scan, and it'll be like, that internist, you know, and so just like, I sat there and go like, this is a fascinating specialty, because it's like, not only like is it stuff that I like, but it's also, you get to know like the ins and outs of like the little mini hospital drama and politics, right? Yeah. I don't have to deal with that now, but because I'm not in the hospital. But I just don't think there's any other specialty. Maybe pathology, but I just am so blessed that, because I think that I probably should not have gotten to medicine in the first place, but it was like me kind of forcing my will and not really listening to like what God maybe wanted me to do, which I don't know what that is necessarily. Maybe it was teaching, like my mom, but
yeah, that's an interesting question. Like,
right.
If you didn't get into the medical industry, what would you have done?
Maybe teaching. I mean, that's the easiest answer. I mean, if I were to really like have the courage of like people that are really gutsy, I probably would have tried like something like stand-up comedy or something, like, you know, because I really believe that the people that are probably the greatest healers are the people that make you laugh, because I think laughter has been shown scientifically
people who bring
to
humor
be healing. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's great energy, and energy does have, in my opinion, a great way of being able to heal people.
And I think that's part of the design, right? So like as simultaneously we're going through this whole pandemic and control and fear, blah, blah, blah. It's like we're cancel culture is like canceling all these comedians. Like, oh, everything you step out of line. And so it's like so much harder to be a comedian now, right? Because people are taking offense to everything. But it's like those people are really doing, I mean, I think that's real healing. Like you have belly laughs like over a comedian. I think that you have gone through better experience than any chemotherapy, any pharmaceutical product, right?
Comedians are doing the Lord's work.
I think so. I mean, in some way, that them getting you to laugh is physiologically more beneficial for you than any type of chemical concoction you can put into your body.
Yeah, I believe that.
So I think that's probably what I would have liked to do, whether or not I've been successful, you know, that's to be, you know, who knows? It's a whole nother alternative universe, right? But since I did force my way to go into the medical complex, then I think I was blessed by being shown this specialty, which is really just suits my personality and is able to give me a great balance of lifestyle and compensation. So yeah, I would, to answer her question, I would do the same thing, because I know, like, you started this podcast with wanting to know what people do, right, and why they do it, right?
Yeah. I mean, that was the general idea behind it, and it still is. But I think any project kind of grows and morphs.
Oh yeah,
as it moves along, you know. I mean, most of the podcasts that I listen to, they started out in this lane, and then as they went on, it's not necessarily that they changed lanes, but they kind of just changed speed and gears, and like they might have switched out some parts on the car to do different things. I don't know.
Yeah, so one of the guys, like one of the first podcasts I ever was listening to was this guy named Tom Woods, and Tom Woods has got a PhD in history, so he's a historian. So most of his podcasts are like related to history, or interviewing politicians or other, like, libertarians. We're libertarian, so that type of thing. But then it morphed into the COVID thing, and so he started to, like, compile these charts, and then his audience completely changed and grew because all these people found him based on these charts that he was publishing, showing that there's no difference in incidence of disease between states that mandated masks and states that didn't, stuff like that. So he had all these charts. So now his audience is built on something completely unrelated to the libertarian history. Yeah. So it's exactly as you say. Anyways.
I think one of the things that I'm more curious about in terms of all the traveling that you've been doing, just curious question, is how do you view from what you've seen in your short stays, how do you view, like, life on college campuses? Because all we ever see anymore is, like, how crazy it is.
Yeah,
and almost like lawless, students just screaming at each other, and I don't know.
Didn't witness that. For the most part, the kids, I call them kids, college students, they're wrapped up in their own world, and they have their own hoops they got to jump through, right? They socialize a little bit, but then for the most part, they got tests and midterms and papers they got to write. It's the same as it was in my day, because they got to get the good grades, because half of them are probably trying to get into some graduate school, and or just something else. The thing that's a little bit different is that they actually are, that is administration, focused on what comes after. So the last school we went to, there's this whole building dedicated to helping you prepare for, like, a job interview. Even if you don't have enough money to have, like, a suit, they can fit you in a suit, and you get to keep the suit, like, after you do the interview. It's like,
that's rad.
Yeah. So, and they really want you to have experience outside of the classroom. So all these internships, like the majority of students do internships these days. I didn't see anything that I would consider controversial or contested, or anything like you would see on the internet is showing, like, these video clips. I think they're just trying to get their degree. Their degree's more expensive, and then they're trying to apply it to life.
So you think the majority is just trying to get through it, get their degree, and move along with life?
Yes. Now
it's not Lord of the Flies TikTok nation like we see in social media and stuff.
Yeah, so I think I might have experienced that more than, it was pretty cutthroat, like, when I went to college, but I don't see the cutthroatness unless you count the wokeness or whatever. Like, so the wokeness is there. It's a little bit kind of like baked into the cake, if you will. So this doesn't like set aside. So you can just hear, like, the way they talk. So, the student panel, it's like there was, oh, my name is Jennifer, and my pronouns are she, he, her, something like that. It's just part of the introduction. Yeah. Right. They're all used to doing that now for part of the introduction. The question that I was going to ask was that the nonprofit organization, the Foundation of Individual Rights and Expression, came out with their free speech rankings, and Occidental College was listed as 123 out of 254, right? So explain to me how, at the same time, Occidental claims to be a champion for diversity, presumably diversity of thought as much as just demographics.
Yeah.
And it seems that so many students are self-censoring, right? So that's what I was thinking of asking, right? Because you can't say like, oh, we're completely diversity, we're in on this DEI thing that's going on, right? Diversity, equity, inclusion on campuses, and then be ranked in a position where it's like, okay, clearly the students don't want to speak out on certain topics.
Yeah.
They may have been raised differently. They want to, they're Muslim or maybe devout Christian or something, and they don't believe in, this rainbow flag type of stuff, but they're not going to say anything, right? Because they don't feel comfortable to say anything. So that's what I think is there, but there's nothing visible to see, right? There's no fighting or arguing or anything that you might see online, like you said, TikTok.
Yeah, it's not necessarily just right on the surface, I guess.
Yeah,
I don't know, but I still look at that DEI shit as like, okay, diversity, fine, equity. I'm sorry, but we're not all equal. We're not. I'm not the same as you. Like, I'm not interested in being a radiologist. I might not even be good at it. I may not have the wherewithal to be able to spot something on somebody's x-ray that you can, because you just have that mind. We're not all equal. Just because I want to be something doesn't mean that I can. And inclusion, like, yeah, we don't want to just exclude people to exclude them, but that doesn't mean everybody needs to be included in everything. You should have an opportunity to do what you want to do, but I don't know. I think, it's leaning towards, it's like having plane crashes and stuff more often. I mean, not that that's necessarily the issue or something behind it, but when you look at, do I want a pilot that was hired just because they are a certain ethnic background and they had to fill a quota to keep up that DEI score? No. I don't care what color they are. I don't even care if it's a man or a woman or a they, them, or whatever. As long as that person can do the job and fly this fucking plane, get it where it needs to go and land it without killing me.
Right.
And if they can't do that, if they were hired just to fill some quota or to get a few extra dollars written off on their taxes because of equality, well, fuck that.
Right. And then, well, if you're saying taxes, then you're implying that it's the government that's like telling them to do this stuff, right?
But it kind of is, though. I mean, there are corporate tax breaks,
right,
that corporations get for hiring a certain amount of, African Americans and Asians and whatever else. Right. Like, why? Why are we? In my opinion, that should be an insult in and of itself to say that we have to hire X amount of, Mexicans, Spanish Americans, whatever you want to say, so that we can get this tax break. So then that means you may have gotten picked for a job that you're not even qualified for, but you applied for it and now you have it. And cool, good for you. Maybe it's a good job. Maybe you're making some good money now that you wouldn't have otherwise. But they didn't pick you because you're good at it. They picked you because of your nationality, which, if we want to talk about ending racism, you're now doing exactly the opposite of what we should be doing.
Sure.
Which is hiring based on merit, regardless of nationality.
Right. So the government who gets involved giving you a tax break, simultaneously they profit from and suck the life out of capitalism, and they're also capitalist enemy, right? Yeah. Because capitalism and the free market is based on one thing only, and that's ability. Yeah. Right? Your ability, like you said, merit. Tell me why, if this DEI thing is going to apply across the board, then why don't we just have like short people in the NBA? Why don't you just have 4-foot people that are in the NBA, right? Make it 4-foot women, like whatever. Like, I mean, why don't you do that? Because
why don't we have 2 foot 6 inch, little people running a fucking beeline with the ball straight towards, the
because that's not what
right up against Shaquille O'Neal and
right.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Right. So, yeah. So, and that's just an easy example, right? Because you can just base it on height. You don't have to even talk. You don't even talk about like race or ethnicity. It's like you just do it on height. Like you're going to want the best person for the job when it comes to capitalism, right?
Yeah.
And so I think to talk about conspiracy theory going even further, it's like, well, people get afraid now to fly because DEI is like affecting like their pilots and the mechanics for the planes and all this stuff. So now people are afraid to fly. So that's going to make them easier to be herded into these 15-minute cities, right? You may drive around town, you see these stop 15-minute cities, right?
Well, and it's not even just that though. I mean, it's also companies trying to save money by skimping everywhere. It's like when I had Andy on and he was talking about the precision railroading shit that they came out with, which basically just meant literally cut everything, save money everywhere you possibly can, which is why now we're seeing so many rail crashes and everything else, because they're running everybody ragged. There's really no maintenance happening. Shit's falling apart.
Yeah.
And it's because they wanted to make shareholders happy by boosting proverbial profits that really aren't getting boosted.
Right.
You're cutting dollars here to make dollars here, which now that everything's falling the fuck apart, you're going to have to put all these dollars back in to fix. So you really have no net gain in the end, the way I see it anyway.
Unless you put all those dollars into your own private railroad or whatever that you only have access to, like the Black Rock Express.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like that's who's basically runs the whole world. Right? Yeah, Vanguard and State Street, those characters, they affect everything, right?
Yeah, they own it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't even buy a house now anymore because as soon as it comes on the market, BlackRock shows up to take it.
Yeah,
add it to somebody's portfolio.
Well, that's what Klaus Schwab of the World Economic Forum says, right? You will own nothing and be happy.
Yeah,
it's like, well, okay.
Which I don't know where he's getting that information from, because I'm pretty happy with the things that I own, which isn't much, but that's because I understand that I only need to own what I need, not everything I want.
Right. Well, I mean, it's just it's like totalitarian control on steroids. It's like you're not only going to tell me I will own nothing. Okay, I can see that because you've mentioned like BlackRock, and they can just end up buying everything to the point where I'm like the Who's down in Whoville and like the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. I'm holding hands, but I got nothing. I got no gifts. I don't have even the roast beef. But you can't tell me that, like the Who's in Whoville, that I'm not going to be happy. Right, you can't tell. That's another level of control. You're gonna control my mood. You're gonna tell me that I'm gonna be happy, right? It's like I don't think so, right? That happiness is like my choice, right? And if happiness is because I own something, I own my own home, then and that's how I define my own personal happiness. Well, then I'm not going to be happy when you take that home away, right? Yeah,
happiness to a lot of people is owning your own home and not having to pay somebody else and be dependent on paying them in order to have a roof over your head. You know, like if I don't pay my rent, somebody comes along and they kick my ass the fuck out of here.
Right.
And then what do? Then I have to go find some other place and move all of my shit again.
Or you're living in a tent on the streets of Spokane.
Yeah, that's not fun for anybody. I mean, it is what it is. So happiness, I mean, I've owned homes before. And yes, happiness to me, in a sense, was owning a home. I mean, I was still paying a mortgage on it, but it was mine. I could do whatever I wanted with it.
Right.
I didn't have a bunch of rules and horseshit regulations and stuff that I had to adhere to, other than an HOA, which thankfully the last one I had was pretty chillax. But yeah, way better in my opinion than renting as far as that goes. Now, to some people it's the other way around. To some people, they look at renting as way better, because then all you got to do is call the office and say, hey, my toilet's backed up. And then somebody comes and fixes it. I get that. That makes sense. Okay.
But the broader point that I'm trying to make is that happiness is an individual's determination, right? It's not gonna be,
yes.
It's not going to be imposed. It's not something that can be given or taken away from someone outside of you, right?
Right.
From some bald-headed, like German accented, like villain, like at the top of the pole, saying like, you know, you will be happy. Like, how do you know I'm going to be happy? Like, you don't determine my happiness.
Yeah,
right?
It's not up to the Klaus Schwabs of the world to say you'll own nothing, you'll be happy. Like, fuck you. How do you know that? Right. You're not me. Right. For one. Two, who is going to own it?
Right.
Because if it ain't me, it's going to be someone.
Yeah. And you're implying that person who's going to own it is going to be unhappy?
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Who's going to take on who's going to be the bearer of that burden to own everything and be so unhappy?
Vanguard will own everything and be unhappy.
Vanguard and BlackRock will own everything and be so unhappy making all that money from us renting our cars and our bicycles that they want us to have instead of cars, and the places that we live in, and eating our pillows to sleep on at night,
cricket burgers, eating the bugs, right?
Yeah.
It's insane.
It's a bunch of fucking
I just think
shit.
that I'm still optimistic that I think the Great Awakening, which is happening as a result, and everything that they do, it's like, I mean, these ridiculous studies like, oh, men that work out like for 7 hours a week or more, like, are more prone to like heart attacks or some nonsense like that, right? They're just trying to stop you from like working out. It's just like all this, they've lost so much credibility that I think they're just, the fire of the Great Awakening is just not going to be stopped. And it's just a matter of like if it can burn down this whole Great Reset or not. Because that's what's going on right now. It's the competition of people waking up and this totalitarian imposition over the entire world, this basically one world government that we've heard about for years. And I still believe that the Great Awakening is going to happen. And it may just take a form of like, no, I'm not complying, right? I'm just not going to comply. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do, right?
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Exactly.
Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me.
Right. Including getting the jab to see your show.
Yeah, right.
All right, I think I have to at least take a leak. Wow, did we do 3 hours? What?
No, it's been 2 recording.
Oh, okay.
You're hanging out for a little bit.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
I don't know. Well, real quick, here was that what I was talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah.
What are those? What's that? Who's that? The hobgoblin. Oh.
Bless you.
Yeah, so Gary Marshall, he's back there. He's the devil back there.
I see children, but I don't see children. I've lost my power. Enough. Sorry.
What, the whole movie? Oh, no.
What kind of costumes are these? It's the
such a great movie, dude. This is an annual tradition to watch this.
On Halloween?
Yeah. Or up to Halloween. Like, the whole month of October for me is just different movies.
Is that your favorite month?
I don't want to play.
Yes. Yeah, see? And then there's Penny Marshall. So this is...
3 favorite witches.
Are you broads a little old to be trick-or-treating?
We'll be younger in the morning.
Yeah, so this is where I know Penny and Gary Marshall from.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I knew that she was on like Laverne and Shirley and stuff, but yeah.
With Lenny and Squiggy.
Yep, Lenny and Squiggy. Anyway, man, thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always, dude. I love talking to you. It's fun.
I wish I knew enough to be your producer, but I don't. You're more techno savvy than I am.
I mean, really, I'm just sitting here pushing buttons back and forth. Eventually, I mean, I've already kind of just in this one gotten to a point where it's almost second nature now. Developed that muscle memory.
Oh, okay.
Whenever you're talking, it's number 1.
Oh, okay.
Whenever I'm talking, it's number 2. That's about it.
That makes it easier for the post-processing.
Left finger or right finger.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm getting used to it already.
Well, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
Until next time.
Until next time, man. Thanks. And everybody out there, grinders, keep on grinding. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.